It is Tuesday, January 2nd of 2024, first NFL show of the 2024 year. Some exciting stuff. We have a ton of exciting games heading into this last week of the NFL regular season. There are 20 teams who are still in contention for a playoff spot, the most in NFL history during the last week of the regular season. So, lots of exciting games to talk about, lots of playoff implications that we're going to have to get into. But before we do that, Brendan, how are we doing?
This is nuts, bro. I don't know. There's so many different pieces in this puzzle and so many different things can happen. I find it crazy that some teams can still make the playoffs, but I'm doing good. I'm trying a new thing where I drink coffee midday so that I can have a horrible crash so I can go to sleep at night.
Nice. Well,
so we're getting amped up.
Yeah, we unintentionally missed last week due to the holidays and stuff, so we apologize for missing last week, but we are back, and we're going to cover all of the big games in NFL Week 18, and make sure we cover all of the playoff implications of those as well. So we're going to stick to the usual script, go over some of the big games, do our big game breakdowns, give our projection analysis of each one. Hey, projections had another good week last week. If you follow on Twitter, you can track those at @Statletics_. Don't miss those. We do them for both college football and NFL. They also covered for the college football playoff games. Just saying. So find our projections there at @Athletics_. But sticking to the script, big game breakdown, and then we're going to do some rapid fire there at the end. So let's not waste any time, Brendan. Bills go to the Dolphins. Dolphins are +3 home favorites. And Bills win and they're in. If they lose, then there is a chance, barring a couple other things to happen. We won't get into the semantics of it, but there's a chance that they can miss if they lose. Unlikely, but probabilistically able to happen. So Bills win and they're in. They clinch a 2 seed potentially. Dolphins, if they win, they can clinch their division. So big game for both teams and their playoff hopes. Not really getting in, but seeding more than anything. So this is a playoff game in itself, it feels like. Bills, they come in with a little bit of momentum. Dolphins come in lacking some momentum. Tough loss last week. Embarrassing loss, really. I don't even want to say tough. I want to say embarrassing. They just got routed by Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. And it really seems like a bad time for the Dolphins due to the injuries, the way that they've been losing. It feels like they're kind of coming apart. You know, they were one of the few teams that started the season off really hot, and unfortunately, they've only really gone downhill from there. So the Dolphins, kind of contrary to the Bills, are lacking a bit of momentum that they could really use, especially as we head into the last week of the NFL, heading into the playoffs. So both teams, playoff game pretty much in essence in this last week. Before I get into any of the numbers, the splits, Brendan, snap reaction to this game, snap reaction to this line. Who do you think is going to win with everything on the line?
What a game to finish the season. It's the last game of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely incredible. And you've got the Bills here as 3-point favorites going to the Dolphins, 3 points on DraftKings. I don't know about other books, but the Dolphins are just becoming unhinged, and they're like dying there on the field. Bradley Chubb went out ACL, Reed cut the ankle, Tyreek's hurt. Waddle's hurt. Tua's, been brain dead for a couple years, and I can't see. Now, if the Dolphins were going to Buffalo, I think Buffalo wins this game easy. But the Dolphins are hosting. The weather's very different down there in the Miami heat. So Miami winter heat. And so I think it's a closer game, but I think the Bills are going to ride the momentum that they have. And the fact that if they lose, they could possibly miss the playoffs. But if they win, they're the 2 seed.
Yeah.
It's too big a stakes. I think the Bills are going to come in here and cover that. And the Dolphins did to get embarrassed last week, and they're really hurting right now.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of their key injuries. Bradley Chubb tore his ACL last week. That's huge. One of the best pass rusher on that Dolphins team. And then Raheem Mostert is out. He's the league leader in NFL rushing touchdowns.
James Wiseman.
Yeah, and then oh god,
Sorry.
I can't even focus after that. And then what's his name? Now you got me off track.
I'm
Off track.
sorry. I'm
So
sorry.
Raheem Mostert out, Bradley Chubb, and then Jalen Waddle back injured. No surprise. He's been hurt pretty much every other game of the year.
Yeah.
So they're missing some crucial components of both their offense and their defense. And so heading into a game like this, and Tua's banged up, let's not ignore that. He's, also pretty beat up himself. So careful.
Sorry.
And so with that, it's hard not to believe that Buffalo's going to take this game outright, especially the 3 points. I know it is on the road. I know it is. But, when you say this is in Miami and it's Miami Heat, I think that also benefits Buffalo to some capacity. So in this, I fully expect Josh Allen, Sean McDermott, and Bill's new offensive coordinator, Joe Brady, to get as creative as you possibly can imagine. I expect him to throw him the kitchen sink and get everybody involved on the offensive side of the ball. I think Josh Allen will have plenty of time to throw now that Bradley Chubb is out for the year. I expect the Dolphins to struggle to generate a pass rush. And we're slowly starting to see Buffalo go back to that 2 tight end set with Dawson Knox back healthy. When he was hurt, they ran predominantly 1 tight end sets with Dalton Kincaid, and they're slowly shifting back to how they started the season with 2 tight end sets. And they have Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid both on the field at the same time. And that creates a lot of mismatches on the defensive side of the ball, especially with linebackers. And we know that Miami's linebackers aren't exactly, top tier or top talent in the league. So I think the Bills are going to come out here and they're going to come out firing. Now, I will say the model projections actually like Miami to win outright. Not by a lot, by very little, actually. I think it's like half a point. But I'm going against the grain here. I'm going against Scarlett. She's treated us well. But
bad girl.
Every now and then, I like to pivot off of the model. Just it's hard. You can't quantify injuries. You can't quantify you can't quantify momentum. I mean, you can try, but some people do it, but our model doesn't do that. So
you can't quantify vibes.
Exactly. I say that on the tweet every week. This doesn't take into account injury, weather, and vibes. So with that being said, I think Buffalo comes in here and they get it done. I think it's going to be close. I will say Buffalo's defense is not what it has been in comparison to the last few years. They still certainly grade as a better performing defense. In fact, if we look at offensive EPA allowed, they rank it 8th in the league, Miami 13th, surprisingly. And then offensive EPA generated, both of these teams are top 3 in the league. Buffalo at 2, Miami at 3. So this will be no shortage of offense, but I think that the defense will kind of be the key factor in this game. So Buffalo's defense has comparatively gotten better as the season's gone on. They lost a lot of people. They had a lot of key injuries, especially including Matt Milano near the beginning of the season, but they've sort of rebounded. This defensive unit, in comparison to the roster that they've had, is overachieving, in my opinion. So with them trending upwards, with Miami trending downwards on the defensive side of the ball, I like Buffalo. And of course, I think that right now, Sean McDermott, as much as I love Mike McDaniel, and I think he'll be a very, very successful coach, Sean McDermott is more weathered and has been in these situations more often than not. So I'm going to trust the veteran background that McDermott has in these type of situations to be able to go out there and outcoach his peer. So give me the Bills, man. Give me them.
The Bills.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see there are a couple scenarios where Miami can come out here, but it's just I'm not going to go out here and trust a team who just lost multiple key players on both sides of the ball and has continued to only trend downwards. Plus, they only have one win against a team who has a 500 or better record, the Dallas Cowboys. So
this is a huge vibes week. That's all I have to say. There's so many different implications for the playoffs that
it is.
Big vibes week.
It really is. It's there's a lot of feel that's going to have to go into this week, and especially with some of the teams sitting players out. We'll talk about the Steelers versus the Ravens. We fully expect the Ravens to sit most of their starters.
Everybody.
So, it's kind of hard to judge that. It's hard to model that. You can't really account for that when trying to model and project for these games. So we'll see. We'll see. All right. Hey, before we move on to the next one, guys, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe and drop your favorite picks. We love scanning the crowd for that information. We appreciate the feedback. And it's always fun going back and seeing who everybody picks. It's a good time for all of us. So make sure to like, subscribe, drop your favorite picks. We really appreciate that. Moving on. Texans go to the Colts. This is a win and in game for both teams. So this is a playoff game. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. This is a playoff game. You win and you're in no matter which team you are. So the Texans, who just got CJ Stroud back coming off of a really solid win last week, head to the Colts. And Colts, they're a surprising team when you look at their expectations heading into the 2023 season, and especially if you look at their expectations after Anthony Richardson went down due to injury. So both teams very much outperforming expectations, whether it's preseason or in-season expectations. Both teams, I think, are worthy of this playoff spot. I think they are definitely top half teams in the league, all things considered. So when we look at this game, we have CJ Stroud versus Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew gets the home. It's in the Dome in Indianapolis. Colts plus 1 point home underdogs. We know how Beach likes those divisional home underdogs. So I have a feeling I know where he's going with this one. Brendan, before I get into the numbers, the stats, whatever, let me know. What do you think?
Yeah, you'd be wrong. This is a vibes game. This isn't a statistical, what am I trying to say? Statistical home division dog. This is a vibe game. And CJ Stroud is going to come out here and shred this defense.
Really?
Yes. And this is D'Amico Ryan's winning coach of the year based off this game. Go Texans. They just absolutely Wally flapped the Titans, and it's a good one. And I think they're gonna not Wally flap the Colts, obviously, but I think they're gonna. It's basically a pick 'em. So I like that because I think the Texans, they just got Will Anderson back. They're a little bit healthier, and they win this game in the playoffs. And who would have thought going into the year? So I think that they got a lot of young bucks on there who are like, they can really prove something here. I think they're going to come out, and I think they're going to win this ball game. So I think they'll cover that 1 point spread.
Okay, well,
that's it.
Yeah, I mean, this game is completely subjective, in my opinion. I think obviously it's a coin flip. I mean, even Vegas kind of values it near a coin flip, just about, especially with Colts being +1 at home. I will say the public is heavy on the Texans. 96% of the tickets are on the Texans. 98% of the handle is on the Texans, according to Action Network. So this is, very much lopsided in the Texans' favor if you look at the betting splits in Vegas. So these two teams are very similar in their own right. Outside of the defensive performance, I will say the Texans defense performs a little bit better in comparison to the Colts, but two very similar teams. I mean, total points on the offensive side of the ball, Texans 21, Colts 22. We go over and look at some of the EPA adjustments. We know if you watch this show, one of our favorite team metrics is offensive EPA and offensive EPA allowed. So Houston, offensive EPA allowed, 14th in the league. Offensive EPA generated, 15th in the league. If you switch over to the Colts, offensive EPA allowed, 19th. Offensive EPA generated, 16th. So two very, very similar teams. And I think that we will see that come this Sunday. But if you watch the show, you know that the model, you know that Scarlett has a Colts problem. So with that information, you would very much expect the Colts to be favored by the model. And we do. We see a 4-point favorite. We see the model favor the Colts by 4 points. But if you're a regular and you watch the show, you know that there's a Colts problem. So we can take whatever game is projected by the Colts with a grain of salt.
About a 5-point buffer there, that's it.
I mean, I don't know what it is. The Colts, when we think about the way that the model generates stuff, it looks at yards per play and stuff like that, EPA, yards per play, and yards per play allowed. I mean, that's just a general high-level overview, and there's about 20 different variables that it takes into account to simulate these projections. But the Colts generate themselves a lot of opportunities, but they don't execute, especially in the red zone. So I think that's where the model has a problem. I think it overshoots the Colts based on the opportunities that they give themselves. So basically, what I'm saying, in short, is the Colts, they do a lot of great things between the 20s. But as soon as they get into the red zone, it's hard for them to capitalize. And so whether you want to deem that an issue for Gardner Minshew, head coach, maybe their offensive weapons, I don't know. Whatever you take that as you will. But I think that's what the model's seeing. And I think that is why the model overshoots the Colts and their scoring projection week in and week out. So with that being said, I'm not really feeling out this game based on the model. Typically how I do, because the model hits at a 60% right, we can trust that more often than not. But, to be right 60% of the time, you got to be wrong 40% of the time. So maybe we can operate under the assumption this is one of the times where the model is wrong. I don't want to, because I actually do think the Colts can win here, but it's really hard for me to imagine CJ Stroud not coming in here and being the better offensive team. And I think that's really what this is going to boil down to, is who can perform better offensively. And we know that the Texans defense, at least on paper, is better than the Colts.
It's fire.
And so with that being said, we know, using simple math, 2 is better than 0. Better offense, better defense. 1, 2 is better than 0. So I think that the Texans are inevitably going to win this game. It's going to be close. I definitely think it by no means will be a shootout or my brain's all over the place after doing college football and NFL. It'll by no means be a blowout, but I think it could be a potential shootout. So this game is going to be absolutely electrifying in every which way. I have to trust the better quarterback and the better defense in this game. Even though it's at Indianapolis, I like that it's in a dome. That benefits both teams to some degree. But I like that it's in a dome. And again, CJ Stroud, I think he's him. I think that he takes home the cake. And I think that he's well deserving of Rookie of the Year. And I think this team deserves to be in the playoffs.
Dude, they're gonna make a run. I swear. I swear to you.
Only if they have Tank Dell.
Oh, that'd be so cool. I'm sorry, though, but Puka should be Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Looking what CJ Stroud has done for this Texans team is...
He needs 29 yards to break the rookie receiving record.
That's been held for 63 years.
Just saying.
All right, well...
Let's move on.
Hey, that's a playoff game in itself. I cannot wait for that game. That's probably going to be, for me, the most exciting game right behind the Bills and the Dolphins. And that's why we talked about a second. Next game, Bears go to the Packers. Packers are -3 home favorites. The Bears are eliminated from playoff contention. They were eliminated last week after the Packers beat the Vikings. However, they could still have a little bit of fun and keep the Packers out of playoff contention. For the Packers, it is a win and you're in, nothing else. Of course, there are a couple other things that could happen to get them in the case in which they lose, but we don't want to get into all of that. There's like 20 different things that could happen. It's just a mess. We'd be here for an hour if we talked about all of those scenarios. So basically, win and you're in for the Packers. Don't have to worry about anything else. The rivalry behind this game makes this that much more fun, in my opinion, because the Bears, although they really have nothing to be motivated for in terms of playoffs, they have every reason to be motivated to play spoiler and keep their most hated team, most hated rival out of the playoffs. So I think the Bears will absolutely will show up and be ready to play, and I think they're going to absolutely give it 100%. So you can fully expect a hell of a game out of these two. The Bears are playing really good football in the latter half of the season. Justin Fields last week against the Atlanta Falcons made a couple of throws that not many quarterbacks in this league can make. I mean, he is making a case to the Bears front office that they should use that number one pick, not picking a quarterback, and use it elsewhere. Trade it out. Use it on a receiver, whatever it may be. He is making a case that the Bears should keep him as his franchise quarterback, and I absolutely would be behind it if they decided to do so. In fact, I'm a Falcons fan. I kind of hope the Falcons try and make a move on Justin Fields.
Or the Steelers.
Nah, no. I'm good. I don't like
the Steelers.
So, with that being said, the Bears are playing great football. The Packers are playing great football. This game is going to be awesome in every which way. You know, there's so much history behind this game, behind these two teams going against each other. So, with it having massive playoff implications for at least one team is pretty awesome in its own right, and good for the league, man. It's great when the Bears and the Packers play against each other with big implications. So Packers -3 home favorites. Bears playing good football going to Lambeau Field. Before I get into any of the numbers of the betting splits, Brendan, snap reaction to this game, snap reaction to this line. Who takes home the cake? Do the Bears play spoiler? Let me know.
Yeah, this game's going to be really fun. I can't say for certain that the Bears will play spoiler, but because of the rivalry and it giving me 3 points on DraftKings, I think there's a higher likelihood that it's like a really close game. I don't know who's going to win. I would have to say the Packers would be favored in my head because of them being at home. But I think that 3 points is a little much because I think it's going to be a great game. The Bears could win, but either way, it's going to be close. And I think that they're going to cover that 3. I think that Justin Fields is going to have another great game, and they're still going to trade him away. Because they're so stupid. Like I can't understand GMs. But just listen to me. Like obviously you want to listen to me, and I still think that they're going to draft Caleb Williams or something and trade Fields away. Yeah, really mismanage there and start back over to square one. But I think the Bears can cover this game.
Man, you have a lot of faith. I will say. On a neutral field, the model has the Bears favored by 1 point. So I think we see the Packers' home field advantage play a little bit into this line as well. And, you know, I think it deserves to be noted, Lambeau Field is one of the harder places to play in the league. So, you know, taking that into consideration as well when we break down these games, it will be no easy feat going into Lambeau Field, more than likely with cold weather, and beating the Packers outright, no matter how good or bad they may be.
I mean, they played in a windy snowstorm last week, so I
don't think the Falcons, though.
I know.
Falcons.
I know.
But hey, I mean, all things considered, the Bears, they definitely have a chance in this game, deservedly so. And when we think about this, you know, taking a step back and looking at the Packers just routed the Vikings. And I think that was more due to the Vikings shooting themselves in the foot due to some decision-making by the coaches and the front office I don't know why, with playoff implications still on the line, the Vikings decide to make another switch at the quarterback position to Jaron Hall, who they have a 2-drive sample size of for the entire 2023 season. Don't know why. Maybe they saw something. Obviously, they saw something out of him in practice that they thought they would give him a better chance. But, why they don't continue with Josh Dobbs or Nick Mullins beats me. I have no idea. I mean, they're
trying to decide what they want to do with Cousins, I think, but I would think that they're going to bring him back. So I don't like this. The season's kind of a wash. Like, get whatever you can out of it. But
I was just surprised with
it makes no sense.
Their playoff hopes were very much alive before last week's game. I mean, they still kind of are alive, but they need a lot to go right.
Yeah.
But being in contention like that, I just don't know why you make the quarterback switch that late in the game or that late in the season. I don't get it.
Switch back.
Yeah.
It's dumb.
I don't know. That was, in my opinion, that was coaching malpractice. I think that was just, completely out of pocket. But hey, I'm not getting paid the big bucks to coach. So what do I know? What do I know? So back to the Packers. Packers routed the Vikings. Jordan Love, man, he kind of balled out last week. They went into a 2-week drought, lost against the Bucs. He really showed off his arm talent in this game, in my opinion. There were some throws that he made that really, really impressed me. There were some like fadeaway throws. There were some tight pocket throws that I was, like, dang, I forget that Jordan Love can do this. So this guy is going to be special one day. Jordan Love can easily make the explosive plays happen. Now the problem is that their success rate is, middle of the league. In fact, it's 17th overall in the NFL, and Green Bay's explosive play rate, or EPA generated, is 5th in the league. So you see like night and day difference out of Jordan Love, one of the most explosive arm talents in the league, but he has a hard time of being consistently successful in the passing game. Once he can hammer out those details and be consistent, more consistent, then he will absolutely be able to elevate this Packers team to where they need to be.
They're on the ups. They're on the ups. Their young receiving core, and Jaden Reed is awesome. Christian Watson, if he ever comes back. Is it Dontavian? Dontavian Wicks is pretty good. Some dude I've never heard of. But yeah, I've never heard of that dude.
Yeah, I mean, he was a fringe guy, and then now all of a sudden they're drawing up plays for him, in a big time divisional game.
Yeah, in my opinion, the Packers are still arrow pointed up. I think that they'll have a better year next year than they do this year, based on the fact that it was really hard for them to establish a run game for about 8 games this year because Aaron Jones was out. And if they have that, and you have a full, all-encompassing offense that can work real well, then sky's the limit there.
Yeah. So some true franchise building out of the Packers, and I think that they're doing it really well. It's kind of going, it's not going, noticed by a lot of people, especially casuals, but the Packers are doing a great job at franchise building, and I fully expect them to be a 10-win team next year. So looking at this game, though, offensive EPA allowed per play, Chicago surprisingly sits at 11th in the league. For a defense who, outside of that, metrically gives up a lot of yards, a lot of points, they have cleaned it up, and the advanced metrics point us that they are performing better. They're overachieving in comparison to the roster that they have. Offensive EPA per play on the offensive side of the ball, they're 18th. So that number was in the high 20s at the beginning of the year. Especially if you're watching the show, you remember that we dogged on this team, especially for their play calling. But offensive EPA allowed for Green Bay, 25th in the league. Offensive EPA per play on the offensive side of the ball for Green Bay, 8th. So we see that. Very efficient offense, very successful offense on the Green Bay side of the ball. Defense, though, they really struggle. This could be a legacy game for Justin Fields to come out here as a Bear and beat the Packers in their own place at Lambeau Field. So I think if I know you said that even if he wins, that the Bears might get rid of him. But I think that the Bears would have a hard time justifying that, especially with the momentum that he's created for himself. If Justin Fields goes into this game and beats the Packers outright at Lambeau Field, it would be really, really hard to justify that to your fan base. So
I understand, but I think that there's tremendous amount of pressure from where the money comes from to move on. And it's not... I don't know. There's a lot of problems going on. It's not him. Like, he can make some dumb plays. Everyone does that. But if you were to establish a culture and like an actual football team around him, dude, it'd be amazing.
Yeah. I mean, we've certainly seen that. So I think this game will be paramount for both teams. More so the Packers than the Bears, just due to the playoff implications. Packers winning their in, and they have a chance to make a run. I mean, that could be awesome in its own right. Looking at the betting split, 73% of the public is on the Bears, 90% of the handle is on the Bears. So public is heavy in on the Bears. There's a lot of people coming in and placing those bets
Bears.
on the Bears. Me personally, I think the Packers take care of business just with the playoff implications. I think the home field advantage is too much for the Bears to overcome, especially with the Packers offense back on track. I certainly think it'll be a close game. Again, it's one of those historied divisional rivalry games, one of the best in the NFL, in my opinion. So it'll certainly be nothing short of dramatic, but the Packers come out with a win. I think they win outright and clinch that playoff spot. It's going to be fun. Okay. Let me tell you, this is ugly. NFC South implications here. Falcons go to the Saints. Saints are -3 home favorites against the Falcons. So we have a couple of playoff clinching scenarios in this game. We'll start at the top with the Saints. New Orleans clinches the NFC South division title with a Saints win and a Bucs loss, or a Saints tie and a Bucs loss. New Orleans can still clinch a playoff berth with a Saints win, a Seahawks loss, or a Packers loss, or a Saints tie, Seahawks loss, Packers loss. On the flip side, for the Falcons, we won't go through a bunch of other of that stuff. For the Falcons, if the Falcons win and the Buccaneers lose, they're in. Simple as that. Buccaneers play the Panthers this week. Bucs are 5.5-point favorites, although they do go to Carolina. So all Falcons fans, myself included, will be huge Panthers fans, but that's seemingly unlikely for the Falcons. However, it could happen. We've seen crazier things happen. So for the Saints, for the Falcons, we want to discuss this game because of the playoff implications and the NFC South implications that go in this game alone. Saints -3 home favorites. This game is in New Orleans, so they do have home field advantage in this instance. And I will go ahead and give the model projections. The model likes the Saints by 3.1, so right in line with Vegas. Nothing really out of whack there. The public, surprisingly, is on the Falcons. I did not expect this. 53% of the 53% of the public tickets are on the Falcons. 98% of the handle is on the Falcons right now, as it stands, according to Action Network.
I mean, someone threw a bag.
So you have the model projections, because you have the betting splits, you have the breakdown. Hey, give me your feel for this game. Give me who wins and who covers. Let me know.
If the Falcons lose, are they firing Arthur Smith?
I hope so, but I'm hearing reports that he's safe, unfortunately. But I hope so. I really do hope so.
Well, I really don't have any sort of feel towards this game because the Falcons are a coin flip every single week. You have no idea. You have no idea if they're going to come out and play efficiently or if they're going to play like shit. You have absolutely no idea.
Right.
I'm going to give it to them. I'm going to give it to them. I'm going to have them cover the 3. I think that they can win this game just because New Orleans and Derek Carr are just nasty. Kamara has a little bit of an injury. I don't know if he's going to be able to play or not. I think he will, but I have no idea. And I like chaos. Give me the Falcons. Yeah. I also think the Panthers are going to cover 5.5. That means they could possibly win. Okay. Saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's just possible. I'm not going to comment on it, but it's possible. Bryce Young did go out last week with injury. I'm not sure whether.
I thought he died. Yeah.
I'm not sure whether or not he'll be back the last week, but I kind of like the chances better if Andy Dalton plays in comparison to Bryce Young. So low-key hoping for an Andy Dalton start this week against the Bucs, but neither here nor there. We're talking about the Falcons and the Saints. Looking at some of the numbers, man, going straight to offensive EPA and offensive EPA allowed. The Falcons are sitting at 24th in the league in offensive EPA per play. The Saints sitting at 14th. So we know that the Falcons offense struggled. And it's pretty much all self-inflicted, if we're being honest. Arthur Smith is one of the worst when it comes to using his best players. Dude is half retarded when it comes to play calling. So I kind of hope he gets fired this season. We'll see. But I just, again, coaching malpractice. Dude has one of the best rosters in terms of raw offensive talent. Yet he refuses to use them. Coaching malpractice at its finest.
Listen to me. He's a genius. Okay, what pick do y'all have in the draft? What pick do y'all have? If we
lose, we have the chance to get the 8th pick overall in the draft.
Listen, he's a genius, okay? He has managed over the years to be so bad that he gets Drake London, he gets Bijan Robinson, he gets Kyle Pitts, and they're going in on a quarterback this year, a real quarterback, not Desmond Ridder, and they're going to be good. I swear to you.
No.
I swear.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We'll see. Yeah, whatever. Okay.
Genius.
So
chess on checkers.
Saints offense is a little better than the typical average in terms of offensive EPA. Offensive EPA per play allowed. Here's some surprising metrics. Atlanta sits at 7th. New Orleans sits at 6th. So 2 very solid defenses in terms of EPA allowed. Kind of goes under the radar. When you think of like elite defenses or top 10 defensive units, the Falcons and the Saints are not really ones to come to mind, but they're certainly there. And, this really shows in a couple of different things. If we go over to passing yards allowed, 6th and 7th. So that tracks with the EPA ranks as well. And this game will be, a defensive bout at some capacity. And honestly, it'll truly be which offense is feeling better that day. If Arthur Smith comes out and decides to actually use his weapons like Bijan and Kyle Pitts and Drake London and everybody else, they can certainly win this game. The thing about the Falcons is just because, let's say, Marshawn Lattimore he's a truly talented cornerback, an elite cornerback, and just because he's on Drake London doesn't mean that they can't throw to Kyle Pitts, doesn't mean they can't run the ball with Bijan Robinson, doesn't mean they can't go elsewhere, like with Cordell Patterson. They certainly have the weapons to create plays elsewhere in the game. It's just a matter of Arthur Smith actually wants to do that or not. So, unfortunately, we can't sit here with much objectivity about this game just because we don't know if Arthur Smith is going to be up his ass Saturday or Sunday or not. So I truly hate breaking down this game because it all comes down to Arthur Smith's play calling.
Dude, Drake London is so good. He's such a beast. I swear, he makes so many incredible contested catches. Like, if he's on an offense that throws in the ball, he's like a top 15 receiver in the league. He's so good. I love him.
I mean, certainly, underrated receiver. If he had a good quarterback and an offensive coordinator that liked to throw the ball for once, I think he would be a top 10 receiver across the board, statistically speaking. So, coaching malpractice. I'll leave it at that. This game is going to hinge on the rushing game for the Atlanta Falcons. The Saints actually they're 21st in the league in rushing yards allowed. Atlanta is 8th overall in total rushing yards. We know that they predominantly love to rush the ball. If they can find success, which I think they can, I think they can control this game and win outright. I think this really will be a matter of like, are we going to feed Bijan? Are we going to feed Tyler Algier and lean into a running game and trust our ability to do so? Their offensive line is a top 5 unit in the league. That's something that goes kind of unnoticed, and I think that's the reason they've been able to win more games than a lot of people would have given them credit for, is because their trenches on both sides of the ball are really, really, really solid. So the offensive line and defensive line can keep them in contention in any game. But again, coaching malpractice is what it is. So with that being said, I want to take a look here at the model projections. The model has the Saints by 3. We already mentioned that. But that's a neutral field consideration. So the Saints being favored by 3, I think with also having the home field advantage would add another, say, 2 points. So I have to pick against my Falcons as much as I would love for them to win and have a chance at the playoffs. I have to pick against the Falcons. I think the Saints get it done at home, especially with playoff implications on the line. I think their team is slowly coming to better and performing a little bit better than they have been in comparison to the beginning of the season. So give me the Saints to win the NFC South and clinch a playoff berth this year.
That's soft. Will your boys to the playoffs?
I'm actually trying to reverse psychology.
Dude, that's what I do.
And try and get them into the playoffs, trying to get that done. So
copy that.
That game, I can't say it'll be fun. I can't say it'll be a pretty watch, but any game that has those type of implications on the line is certainly worth discussing. So last game that I wanted to talk about and give the attention of a big game breakdown, Steelers go to Ravens. Ravens are plus 3.5. And a lot of you, if you don't keep up with the league, are kind of surprised by that line. But the Ravens are expected to sit most of their starters. Hence why the Steelers are favored in this game. So this game is fun because it has playoff implications for the Steelers. Obviously, the Ravens have already clinched. They've clinched the first seed, and they don't have to. There's really nothing that happens for them whether they win or they lose. So, flipping back to the Steelers. The Steelers can clinch a playoff berth with a Steelers win plus a Bills loss, or a Steelers win plus a Jaguars loss, or Steelers win plus a Texans Colts tie, or Steelers tie plus Jaguars loss plus Texans Colts doesn't end in a tie, or Jaguars loss plus Broncos win plus Texans Colts doesn't end in a tie. So they have 5 different scenarios, but basically, 3 of them, the top 3, most likely involve them winning and another team losing in some capacity. So Steelers need to win this game. I wanted to talk about this because do we think that the Ravens and their backups have a chance to win this game?
No.
So with this game being at the Ravens in Baltimore, the Ravens are certainly one of the best coached teams in the league. Do we think that they could still beat the Steelers?
No, because previous years their backups were now they're starters. Like Isaiah Likely was like a backup that would play in these types of games. He's just an absolute beast. And I don't really know who they're going to play at running back. Because this is an ideal spot for Keaton Mitchell, right? But he's done for the year. So you got Dobbins is done. So you got Edwards and you got Justice Hill. But are you going to play them?
Yeah.
Or are you going to rest them? Because I don't even know who's under them.
They'll probably play all of their running backs still. I mean, it might just be like key starters, like Lamar Jackson and, Odell Beckham.
They got to bench Likely.
Zay Flowers and Likely. And of course, on the defensive side of the ball, guys like Roquan, Patrick Queen, Kyle Hamilton, and all of those guys. But, it's a 50. I mean, they can't sit everybody. So
I agree.
And they'll play more of like Justice Hill and Melvin Gordon rather than
Melvin Gordon, that's right.
Gus Edwards. But, Tyler Huntley is assumably the backup in this game. And we've seen him have some success in the league as a starter when Lamar Jackson got hurt. It's possible. It's possible.
It's possible. And this is where I would normally use reverse psychology. I'm not going to because we're going to freaking win and we're going to cover 3.5. Because this is a Saturday game also. I wanted to point that out. This is a game before any other stuff can happen. So, like, if they were to lose that game, it'd be over. They wouldn't make the playoffs. So they're coming to play. They are coming to play. And I know it's still a rivalry, but the fact that the Steelers are a fine team. They're just not good. Like, they're always there, but they're just not real good, And so I think that against the backups of a team, I think they'll go ahead and take care of business, especially when if they win, they have to win for it to be possible to make the playoffs with it being relatively healthy.
Yeah, hopefully
and then firing Matt Canada, I think that they'll win this game.
And the emergence of Mason Rudolph.
Yep, Rudolph, the red-nosed, terrible quarterback.
What a story that's been. So, just to humor everybody, the betting splits are kind of funny because even though that is assumed that the starters are still out or the starters are going to sit out, 85% of the tickets are on the Ravens. 95% of the handle is on the Ravens. So the public still thinks less of the Steelers than the Ravens backups.
Bring it on. No one cares what the public thinks. I don't.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Just to humor everybody. I thought that was quite funny. But
yeah,
Brendan does not think it's funny as a Steelers fan.
I made myself laugh.
So, yeah, I mean, you can't really break down this game from the side of the Ravens. The Steelers, they got to win. I'm not going to make a pick on this game. I think the Steelers win, obviously, because it's the Ravens' backup. But I think the Ravens are such a good team and such a well-coached team that it's going to be hard for the Steelers to win. It's not going to be a cakewalk. It's not going to be easy. So I think that they're going to have to show up well-prepared, ready to go. I think Mike Tomlin is certainly going to be able to coach up a good game. Obviously, he's one of the better to ever do it.
He's a goat.
Even playing against the Ravens backup in Baltimore, it's going to be a tough task just because, the schemes on both sides of the football, they're great. They're part of what makes this Ravens team so great. They're one of the more well-rounded teams. They're one of the better constructed rosters in the league. So the Steelers team is still going to have a tough time going into Baltimore. They're going to have to bring it and be ready to play. So that will be a fun one too, even though it will be against the Ravens backups. So, all right, let's get into some rapid fire real quick for the rest of these games. A lot of these games really don't have much implications. They do have some minor implications, but neither here nor there. Eagles go to the Giants. Giants are 5.5-point home underdogs. Eagles coming off of a tough loss. Who do you think is going to win? Who do you think is going to cover?
Yuck. Oh. I think the Eagles will cover. I do.
Okay.
They can't lose again. There's no way. And I think they'll.
Yeah.
They can't. That's terrible.
I think the Eagles win, but the Giants cover.
Yeah.
Model has that happening as well. So, Browns go to the Bengals. Bengals are 5.5-point home favorites. The Browns are also assumed to probably sit some of their starters as well, with hardly any playoff implications happening in this game. The Bengals have been eliminated, so
that's crazy.
It doesn't really matter on them. They're in as well. What do you think?
Browns.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean,
Jets. I'll take the Bengals in that, actually. Jets go to Patriots. Patriots are -2 home favorites. No implications for any one of these teams other than draft order in this game. Bill Belichick's last game as a Patriot.
The Jets get it done. Jets money line.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll take the
Belichick's
Patriots.
last game as a Patriot.
I'll take the Patriots. He's going to go out with a bang.
Oh, yeah, bang. There's going to be a bomb in the stadium.
Vikings go to Detroit, play the Lions. Vikings still have a path to the playoffs, but it's very unlikely, all things considered. So, and we talk about the Vikings. Vikings need a win plus a Packers loss plus a Seahawks loss plus a Buccaneers loss. So they need a lot to happen, pretty much. The Lions, they already clinched the NFC North division title. They're just really waiting on everything else to shake out in terms of seeding. So nothing really of importance. I still, expect them to come out and play. Vikings +3 or Lions -3?
Yeah, I think the Lions come out to play, and I don't think Dan Campbell's a throwing the towel at the end of the season type of guy, so I think they're going to cover the 3 at home.
Okay.
Hopefully get to see Hendo Cinco.
Jaguars go to the Titans and play at Tennessee. Tennessee is 5.5-point home favorites. So let's talk about this. Jaguars clinched the AFC South division title with a Jaguars win or a Jaguars tie plus a Colts Texans tie. They clinch a playoff berth with a tie plus a Steelers loss or a Steelers loss plus Broncos loss or tie. So they really need to win here.
Total collapse. The Jaguars miss the playoffs. They lose this game. But the Titans cover at home. Cover the 5.5. Total collapse.
I kind of like the Titans to win outright too.
I know.
The model has it.
Total
the model has this as a closer game than what we would expect. It has the Jags as like a 1-point favorite. So depending on the health of Will Levis and the rest of the Titans, I kind of like them to play spoiler. We know Mike Vrabel loves that shit.
Yep.
Okay.
Gamer.
Okay. Cowboys go to Commanders. If the Cowboys beat the Commanders, they win the NFC East title and pretty much lock in the number 2 seed on the NFC. Cowboys 13-point away favorites.
Whoa.
Do you like the Commanders to cover 13.5 at home or the Cowboys to cover and win and lock in the second seed? I mean, certainly I think the Cowboys are going to win. At this point, I'm just asking if you think they're going to cover or not.
Are they going to play? Are all their guys going to play?
Yeah, I mean, they have to win to lock in the 2 seed. Or they have to win the division, which inherently locks in the 2 seed.
Yeah, I think
dude, they beat the Commanders by 35 on Thanksgiving Day. That was at home, but this Commanders defense, especially their secondary, is Swiss cheese.
Yeah,
I think Dak Prescott has a field day.
We'll take Dallas. Cover.
Okay. We talked about this game earlier a little bit. Bucks go to the Panthers. Panthers are 5.5-point home underdogs. The Falcons need the Bucks to lose, and then they themselves need to win against the Saints to clinch the NFC South. So still some NFC South implications in this game for the Bucks. Do you like the Panthers to cover? Do you like the Panthers to win, or do you think the Bucks win or the Bucks cover?
I like the Panthers to win.
I hope they win so bad.
I think the Bucks. I like them to cover heavily, but yeah, you can throw on this Bucks team, and if Andy Dalton's there,
that's true.
Get it.
That is true. We're about to see legacy game out of Andy Dalton and Adam Thielen.
So good.
Okay, Chiefs go to the Chargers. This line is all over the place. I'm seeing Chiefs +3 on some books, and Chargers -2 on some books. So full point difference, but we'll assume Chargers -2 due to the Chiefs sitting a lot of their players. Who do you think covers and who do you think wins?
I mean, the Chargers are in disarray. Like, I'm going to take the Chiefs 3-point underdogs to cover that.
Okay. Broncos go to the Raiders.
Ew. That's a nasty
Raiders
game.
are 2.5-point home favorites.
Give me the Raiders.
Okay. Yeah. Motivation factor there.
Cypress.
Antonio Pierce is coaching for a job pretty much too, so I like that. Okay, Rams go to the 49ers. This is a game of backups. I don't think any team is going to really play their starters in this game. So you're basically playing who's the better coach and who's the better team, which the first question poses an interesting question. Who's the better coach, Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan? And then who's the better total? You think Shanahan is?
Yeah, I do.
See, I think McVay is.
They're so sick.
But battle of the backups here. Do you think the Rams can cover 3.5 at San Francisco, or do you think the 49ers pull it up?
Is Stetson Bennett playing or our friend Dresser?
No, I don't think either of them are going to be playing.
I think the Niners have a system, and their backups could probably win 4 games in the NFL. So I think the Niners are going to win, and I think they'll cover also.
Yeah, Sam Darnold being the backup quarterback, I think is the where they get the nod from me. So
yeah, absolutely.
All right, man. Hey, that wraps it up for the last week of the NFL regular season. We will certainly be here to talk playoffs throughout the next few weeks. Guys, we appreciate you listening, and we will be back here next week to talk wild card.